Hello, welcome to the Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we talk about all different kinds of self-care, not just the ones that we are brought up to think are self-care. So if I say self-care, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? If you're a new listener and you haven't been with me for a while, you might think, oh, self-care is things like getting a massage or getting my toenails done. And I don't have time for that. So I guess no self-care for me. But what part of my vision and mission with talking about courageous self-care is to open up people's perception of what self-care actually is. And there are forms of external self-care that we do to the outside of ourselves. And then there are forms of internal self-care that really create lasting and deep transformation. And for the most part, there's a lot of fear involved in those. And so that's why we have courage attached to self-care. Now, one of the things that I've been working on recently is a Courageous Self-Care Festival. I thought, how can I reach more people and uphold the values, some of the core values of courageous self-care, which are community and connection? How can I create something that will bring people together to learn and to have this face-to-face connection? So when I was meditating one day, I had this idea for the Courageous Self-Care Festival, and I wrote it all down afterwards, and I thought, I have no idea what to do with this information. So I left it in my journal, and then a few months later, my coach revealed that she had a desire for her clients to put on big events. And I said, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I've got it all written down. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. At the festival, there are going to be speakers and vendors. And what I realized is that they are just too good to keep to the festival. I know you listeners are from all over the world, and not everyone's going to make it to Calgary on November 17th. So I wanted to share them with you. And today I have one of our amazing VIP vendors, Melody Chardon. Melody, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christina. I'm super excited and honored to be here. And I love what you're doing as far as promoting courageous self-care.
Thank you. I love it too. So Melody, tell us a little bit about you, like who you are and what you're up to.
I'd love to. So I've recently rebranded my business to be more of a reflection, a true reflection of who I am and what I'm up to. And so my life journey has involved a lot of change and loss, and I've learned a lot about emotional self-care. And so that's a lot of what the work I do is.
Oh, that's so important. And that's definitely one of the 12 foundations of courageous self-care, is learning how to honor our emotions and feel them rather than suppressing them. And that is such a form of self-care that people don't normally think of as being self-care. So you're going to be sharing about that at the festival. You want to tell us a little bit more about that and why it's important to you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Part of my journey, I experienced major change. I had my dad die. I filed for divorce, and I started a new career all in 18 months.
Oh my gosh.
And being the person that I am, the strong individual, the go-getter and get things done, I thought that I was managing my stress really well. I didn't think I had any signs of stress. And I went to the naturopath, and she asked me if I was under stress, and I said no. And she said that my body was telling her something different, that my cortisol level, which is the stress hormone, was above 40, and the normal range is around 10.
Oh no.
Yeah. So my stress level was 4 times what it should be, that hormone, and it had all kinds of physical implications. I wasn't sleeping. I felt like I was sleeping all the time, but I wasn't feeling rested. I gained 10 pounds in less than a year. And I'm experiencing like I was walking around in a fog. And so I learned more about what all that was. It was the stress hormone, but it was also the grief that I was experiencing from all of those losses. Mm-hmm. So I got to see what the unresolved grief does to us physically, mentally, and emotionally.
That is so powerful that Well, what I love about your story is that I can really identify with it. First of all, I went to a 3-in-1 therapist for many years. And when I first started going out, she works with repatterning beliefs and neuroplasticity and that kind of thing. And when I first went in, I too answered her questionnaire about being under stress, and I thought I had no stress. And then she did some muscle testing and energy reading and that kind of thing. And she said, well, I think that probably you do experience more stress. Like your body is saying that it's more like 90% tendency to be stressed than not. I'm like, oh, maybe this is just so normal that I don't know what it feels like not to be stressed.
Yeah, you know what? I think that that's so common that we all, and especially as women, we do so much and we get used to doing so much that feels normal to us. Mm-hmm. And we don't realize what we're doing to our bodies by not taking time to take care of ourselves.
Yes. And our bodies are always giving us messages. Like you said, a lack of sleep is signaling something. We're designed to be able to sleep and fall asleep and stay asleep during the night. Our hormones are great indicators of what's going on. And even if we just tune into our physical sensations, like I've learned that when I'm feeling stressed, I feel a tight sensation in my chest. And then I can start to notice, okay, what's going on there? What's the story I'm telling myself? And if I just pay attention to that tension and be more loving towards myself and not judging, like, why is it there? What I'm doing wrong? Oh, this is there. This is the emotion that's showing up. I'm just going to let it be. And then it dissipates. It's almost magical.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's, it's interesting to me because we spend a lot of time, money, and energy trying to avoid what we feel.
Yes.
And I like to share the image of trying to hold a beach ball underwater, because we can do that. We can hold it down there for a really long time, but eventually our body gets tired, our arms get tired, and we have to let go. And then when we let go, the ball just bursts into the air. And it's kind of the same thing with our emotions. If we continue to stuff them down, eventually they're going to blow.
I love that analogy. I've never heard that before, but it's so crystal clear. Exactly. And I definitely have been known to have that ball bursting above the surface.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. We are often triggered by simple things that people say, and it's not at all about what they say. It's about what we're carrying inside.
Yes, those are wise words. I'm experiencing some of that in the last 2 days, and I've just really been reflecting, like, why is this bugging me so much? And with my family, we're studying the 4 agreements, and I know I'm taking things personally. I know I'm making assumptions, and the next step, okay, what am I going to do about it so that this isn't a trigger anymore?
Right. Yeah, it's really important to be able to take that pause and to step back and to sort of, look within for the answers. That's what I teach the people I work with. It's all inside. We have all the answers. We just need to learn to look in.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you actually work with clients.
A lot of the work I do is one-to-one over the phone, which makes it super easy and super convenient for people. I can work with people around the world, but they're in the comfort of their own home, which gives them the added safety, because the emotional work that we do is, it takes a lot of trust and courage. And I love the courageous self-care, because it does take courage to go there, to be willing to share enough of your story that we get the background of what needs to be healed in the first place, and then be able to safely move through it. So a lot of it, like I said, is one-to-one. I also do groups. I work with groups of individuals, and I will be running a workshop for parents in November to help them lead their children through loss. Because we as individuals can only do what we know. And so we've been taught certain things about dealing with emotions and dealing with grief that aren't healthy or helpful. Right. And so for us to be able to relearn and repattern, we have an opportunity to parent differently.
So, I had another question. What was it? It'll have to come back to me. I know. Why would people seek you out? Why would they how do most clients present themselves in needing your help and your services?
Most of the people come to me by way of referral, and it's someone who's worked with me before, who's had significant benefit from working with me. Some people have found me online, and it's usually a life event that causes them to look inward. So as we age, of course, our parents are aging, and sometimes the relationship shifts before we actually physically lose our parents. So my dad had Lewy body dementia, which is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And so while he was still alive, there were a number of different phases of the relationship. Different things happened to him that we had to learn to adjust. And towards the end, he didn't speak to us at all. He stopped speaking. And so we had to learn to connect to him in a different way. So the answer to your question of how they come to me, it's usually something. It's either an internal nudge of, there's got to be more to life than this. Things don't seem to be working quite right. Or it's a push by life that, it's time to pay attention to change. It could be an illness that takes people out, or it could be a series of losses like what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's a push or a nudge and an opportunity to change the way we look at life and the way we look at grief.
Mm-hmm. My granny has Lewy bodies. I've never actually heard anyone else say that they knew someone with it.
Yeah. It's I don't think it's that common. There wasn't a lot of information. My dad passed away 10 years ago. There wasn't a lot of information on it at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see what you're saying. Like, even if people are aging and still alive, there can be so many losses within a relationship, like loss of the way it used to be, loss of how I thought it was going to be, loss of what I had planned that we would do together. And all of those can bring up that grief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dementia is big too, because we lose the person that we know.
Exactly, right.
And we have to remember that a lot of what's coming out of their mouth is not them. It's not the individual anymore. I always felt that we were fortunate that my dad didn't, he didn't have the angry outbursts that some people do. And yet we weren't able to communicate with him. So it was a different kind of loss for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing about what you do and the kind of people that you help, Melody. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the courageous self-care. So I alluded to it a little bit at the beginning. The reason why I thought initially that courage would be a great partner for self-care is that for the best self-care, the life-changing transformational stuff like what you deal with people, there's often fear. Well, not often, like almost always, if not always, because we're in our zone of familiarity, which is what I like to call the comfort zone. It may not be comfortable, but it's familiar, so it's soothing in some way. And we know that there's something we want on the other side, and then often that fear can just be a wall that we are unable to get through. And we need help. And that's one of the I think my lifelong lessons is that I cannot do everything myself. It won't be better if I do it all myself, because other people can do it too. So there are just all these aspects to self-care and that courage. So I wanted to hear what self-care means to you.
Well, it means so many things. And the courage part is like the courage to ask for support. So I think one of the biggest pieces of self-care is asking for and receiving support. And just admitting to yourself that you don't have to do it all alone, and you probably can't do it all alone. And there's a consequence if you do.
Yes.
One of my coaches introduced this idea of self-care being self-discipline in advance. And I love it because it really helps you to get ahead and look at, how much can you do in a day, a week, and a month? and what can you ask for support with, and who would you ask? And then having a structure that you put it into. So for me, it could be, I know I need to get up tomorrow half an hour early, so I'm going to go to bed half an hour early today. That means that maybe I'm not going to do as much today as I had planned. And then looking in the morning, what's really important that I get done. So planning my day is a way of self-care.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in 2020, I want to go to Greece with my daughters. It's a special year for all of us in a number of ways. And so that's something that we want to do. And so we're starting to save now. We have a plan in place to save the money so that we can make that happen. And that means saying no to certain things, which is another form of self-care. Knowing what's important to you, knowing what your values are, and being aware of the choices and whether or not it's taking you to where you want to go. And then another one is like, the typical spa day, but how often do we say we want to have a day at the spa and then we don't plan for it? And so I know I want to go to the spa at the end of the month. I book the appointment today and I put it in my calendar and I make it non-negotiable. That time is for me.
Oh my gosh, you just said so many rich things. I have never heard of the idea of self-discipline in advance put so succinctly, and I love it. I'm going to adopt that. I'm a big believer in using my calendar and scheduling things and putting in time for me as well as time for other people, and I really like that idea. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think it's really important too for us to put it in the calendar and make it a non-negotiable. Make it as important as an appointment with a doctor, or make it as important as time with your kids. Like it's time for us, and when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of others.
Absolutely. And one thing that I know works really well for me is if I book a massage and then I go, while I'm there, if I book the next one, it just takes a whole bunch of thinking energy away from it. So pre-booking for the next time, whether it's next month or the month after, at least it's in there. And then, as you say, it's non-negotiable. It's already in there. So if I don't do that, it can go months before I realize, I love massages. I want to go get one. And just that pre-booking and creating a cycle for yourself. And then the added bonus is you always have something in your calendar to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like that too, that it takes the mental stress away.
Yeah.
I do that with my hair appointments and my chiropractor appointments because I know how often I need to go now. And so I just do it while I'm there. And then I don't have to think about it and it's done.
Yeah, it's easier for everyone. Gosh, listeners, you're getting so many great tips today. So now for the courage part, I love to have the guests on the show model stretching that comfort zone and doing something that's a little outside of the ordinary, so outside of ordinary conversation. So Melody, what is something that not a lot of people know about you?
Well, not a lot of people know that although I am now a public speaker, I went for more than the first half of my life avoiding public speaking at all cost. And I have had on my list of things to do singing lessons for a number of years, and I started 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations! Oh my gosh, that must have been so momentous as you walked up to start your first lesson.
Yeah, it's been awesome, and it's turning out to be so much more than singing.
Yes.
Some old things are popping up, old stories, old beliefs, and so I get to heal those as well as have some fun and learn to sing and share my voice.
Oh, I love it. And it's so good for your throat chakra to express itself. And I love that you've tuned into a longing that's been there for so many years and took action on it.
Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah.
I have been wanting to take acting lessons for a really, really, really long time. And this fall, I scheduled them in. I paid the money, and then I looked at my calendar and went, what am I thinking? I'm organizing this giant festival. I can't do that. So they're on my calendar for January. I'm so excited to also take that big leap, and I'm sure lots is going to come up out of it, because I think the things that we are drawn to are calling us, because there's, as you say, it's not just singing, it's not just acting. There's a whole lot of healing and stuff that comes up as we move through those.
Yeah, and I think that is life in itself, right? There's always something for us to go through. There's always change or challenge. And it does take courage to go there. And it's so rewarding on the other side.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Oh, I could just talk about this all day.
Me too.
So you work with people all over, because everyone has phones. So how can people get in touch with you if they're feeling like they are grieving, or they've experienced some significant change, or they are having a nudge? How can they find you online, Melody?
My website is diamondlight, L-I-G-H-T, leadership.ca. I do have a Facebook page, Melody Chardon. I haven't changed the business page. I'm not super active on social media because I am super old-fashioned, and I love the heart-to-heart, true communication and connection. And so I do answer emails within 48 hours. My email address is melody@diamondlightleadership.ca. And I will respond even more quickly to a phone call or a text. And my phone number is 403-671-8511.
Beautiful. Now you have no excuse to not take action. You have many multiple ways of contacting Melody. All right.
The hardest step.
Absolutely.
Usually, right?
Yes.
Is the reaching out, the picking up the phone, the saying yes to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Saying yes to yourself and admitting that you can't do it all by yourself, and you could use some help from someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
So I had a vision during my meditation for this festival that there would be swag bags that would be filled with, like, every time someone puts their hand in, they pull something out, they would be totally delighted. And those swag bags are going out to the first 100 attendees. Melody, what are you contributing to them?
I am putting in a nice, colorful candle. And the candle is to signify how I bring light to the dark side of loss and change. And it also is a visual reminder that just like a diamond, you are brilliant, resilient, and truly awe-inspiring.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. I love that. Oh, yeah, you are going to want to get there by 8:30 in the morning if you are coming, so that you can get your swag bag. They are filled with, well, Melody's candles and then all sorts of other goodies. And I know that you're going to be thrilled. Thank you for doing that, Melody. That's so generous. And I love the symbolism in it.
Well, thank you so much.
So we're going to wrap things up here. I would love to extend to you the invitation. If you are in Calgary and surrounding area, we would love to have you join us at the festival. And as a thank you for listening to this podcast, I would love to offer you a free ticket. So you can get that by going to selfcareticket.com and simply click the link that says activate your ticket. You'll be all registered, and we would love to see you on the big day. Melody, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me on this interview and for sharing the brilliant light that you bring to the world.
Thank you so much, Christina. I'm really looking forward to being a participant and a source of hope and healing at the event.
It's going to be magical. I just am, again, covered in goosebumps. All right, and listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I do really, truly, honestly, wholeheartedly look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.